Hi, good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of the Minority Report. I'm Marlon David, and I'm your host for this week's program. And I want to apologize, first of all, to our viewers. We had shifted our program from the regularly scheduled time, which is Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m., all in favor of what we know as the Tobago uh, Easter Tuesday celebrations. We wanted to give persons the opportunity to join in the festivities and not have to sting that we're going to be having on tonight. For those of you who are first-time viewers, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to the Minority Report. And I dare to say that this program, viewing it, will definitely change your life. It will change your perspective on quite a lot of things that we see happening in the public domain right here in Tobago. Before we begin, let me first indicate that we are presently viewing this program, able to view this program actually on the Tobago Updates website. You can also view on the Tobago Updates Facebook page, and you can also take it in on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel. For those of you who are logged on to your television, you're accustomed to TV channels, it's also aired on M&E TV. Now, we also revere your comments, and we encourage persons to always either comment, send in your recommendations, or at some point in time when we open the lines, we encourage persons to call as well. So if you're interested in sending a comment, you can do so via the Facebook page. You can message us there, or you can send your WhatsApp to 284-6597. That's 284-6597, and I'm going to give you all also the numbers to call, or an additional number to call, I should say, which is 356-8833, 356-8833, and I'm giving you now so that later in the program, when we do in fact open the lines, it's going to be easier for persons to get onto us. Now, as per usual, we get into our little highlights of things that would have happened over the past week or so. And as indicated when I began the program, we had quite a bit of Easter festivities. However, I want to send out condolences, first of all, to the families of those who tragically would have lost their lives over this weekend here in Tobago, and Tobago has now recorded a third murder for the year. And I mean, folks, we have to take stock of what is taking place. We had a shooting incident in Logwood Park, an unusually quiet place. Normally, you don't hear anything coming out of Logwood Park. And we also had an incident in Bethel. The gentleman succumbed to his injuries eventually. I believe it was yesterday morning. And so we're in our third. Condolences going out to the families and friends, loved ones of these gentlemen. But we also need to take stock of what has been happening to Tobago, and we really need to pray. We would have come out at least a week ago and hosted a day of prayer. And I felt really, really encouraged when I was on my way here. I saw quite a procession taking place right in front of the port. Members of the Spiritual Baptist community as well, doing their part in really lifting Tobago up in prayer. In news of our congratulations, we have Tobagonian Legacy Fleming, who took home another win for the National Amateur Catch Junior Tennis Tournament held at Etihad Grounds, Tacarigua, in the under-7 category. And I mean, this is amazing to see the age of the talent that we have coming out of Tobago. We also have Tobagonian Lord Nelson, who is going to be recognized in July by South Korea as a former war veteran. And Lord Nelson making his mark there not only in calypso and soca, but even in his exploits as a soldier. So he's going to be honored in South Korea in July, and stay tuned as we get closer to that for more information. We have the Tobago Football Association extending congratulations to 5 Tobagonians selected on the national under-20 women's team for the CONCACAF Women's Under-20 qualifiers being held in Curacao. These young ladies are Talia Martin, Shakira Charles, Jalisha Alexander, Carissa Cowan, and Jada Graham. Congratulations, ladies, and again, our young people really making their mark and stepping up to not just local or national level, but going out there and competing on international levels. We recently saw the netballers who returned home in a hail of glory after competing and in the netball championships, the Jean Pierre competition. We'd also like to extend congratulations to every member of the Carifta Games 2023 team. The athletes, the officials, the support staff, the supporters that traveled to the Bahamas. It is actually the first time since 2017 that we have achieved 5 individual titles and have won medals in 7 out of the 9 relay categories or events. The team amassed a total of 22 medals, 5 gold, 8 silver, and 9 bronze. Some of our Tobago athletes' achievements was follow Imani Matthew of Kaizen Panthers Athletic Club struck gold in the boys under 17 long jump with a leap of 7.13 meters. That is a long jump. Alexi Henry of Zenith copped bronze during the girls under 17 100-meter finals. Jaidi James of Tobago Falcons Athletic Club captured bronze in the boys under 20 high jump final. Caleb Campbell of Kaizen Panthers Athletic Club captured silver in the boys under 17 high jump with a leap of 1.87 meters. Wow. Brandon Leacock of the Tobago Falcons Athletic Club copped bronze in the boys under 17 800-meter event. Congrats as well to the Mount Pleasant, and we're closing off with this, and the Buku Village Councils on another successful staging of Easter celebrations on Monday and Tuesday. And we know Tobago was a buzz with thousands of people who would have come to Tobago specifically to attend some of these events and partake in their festivities. This evening, we want to go right into our introduction of our panel. Very, very prestigious panel as per usual, because we always bring the creme de la creme on the program in terms of what is happening in Tobago. So joining me this evening is none other than the Minority Leader, Assemblyman Kelvon Morris, straight across from me. Welcome this evening, sir. How are you?
I am quite well. Good evening, Marlon. Good evening, Minority Councillor Benoit. Good evening to our viewers online.
Yes, and to my immediate right, we have fresh from the cold, apparently. The Minority Councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit. Welcome, welcome.
Good evening to the Minority Leader, to you, Marilyn, to all of those of you listening and viewing us on Tobago Updates. Welcome to another episode.
I know you guys normally like to chime in and I mean really rate up the athletes, especially you, Minority Leader. You.
Well, so, I want to go one further. In fact, I want to join you in congratulating our Carifta athletes who made us extremely proud. You know, it's always good when we see that kind of potential coming out, and what it means now is for us to continue to nurture that talent and ensure that they can go on to the next level. And of course, we're hoping that they would be able to go on to the Olympics and could therefore bring us some medals in the future. I also wanted, on behalf of the electoral district of Darrell Spring WIM, and my own behalf, to congratulate the 5 Tobago young ladies who qualified for the national, now part of the national under-20 football setup that will be going to the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. And these young ladies are Jalisha Alexander, Shakira Charles, Carissa Cowan, Talia Martin, and Miss Jada Graham. Miss Jada Graham hails from Graham Trace Union. So I'm owning her, and of course I want to give a big shout out to her mom Kiziana, who would have always been there with her, encouraging her and pushing her, you know, to achieve this great achievement in football. So yeah, we just want to. I also want to congratulate the organizers of both the Mount Pleasant annual sports event, their Easter Monday, as well as also congratulate the organizers, the Boko Village Council, and all the organizers of the Boko Goat and Crab Race Festival. It was really a wonder to behold, you know. I had my son and his friend take down at Boko, and they thoroughly enjoyed, you know, the festivities. My son said to me, he didn't know that watching goat race could be so much fun. You know, so it definitely is one of those family events where you can really take your family and just enjoy a good evening of clean fun.
Yeah. No, it felt really good looking on at the Carifesta in particular. Carifesta game, sorry. And seeing persons that you know and can relate to participating and winning medals and stuff. So I join in congratulations, and I wish them all the best. And of course, as young people, their future seems to be bright once they continue doing what they are doing. So all the best to you young people and your parents and your coaches as well, because the coaches would have put in a lot of work to get them to where they are.
And I just want to make a plug on the coaches, because I've been making my rounds, you know, and giving support to some of the camps, different academies and things, especially in football. You know, football is one of my passion. And, you know, you're seeing so many young persons who would have participated in football, were players, now getting involved in the coaching aspect. And I really want to commend them, because just as how someone would have laid the foundation for us, giving us that those technical platform to build on, they are now doing it for the youngsters, for the next generation. So I had a personal encounter with one Mr. Darrell Trim. He's doing excellent work over in Color Hall. I was able to pass during the Easter, he had an Easter camp there. And I was able to share with the young fellas that, you know, sport is one of those things that could really open up doors. And it doesn't mean that you would become a professional athlete, but it can be the catalyst to help you with your education. It could be the catalyst to get you into, I know persons who through sport became policemen and army men, because they were able to go and play with the defense force. And so sport definitely can open up a world of opportunities. And therefore, it's something as parents we should always try to encourage. And I know your boys, minority counselor.
No, actually, when you pass, and because I live so very close to the Calder Hall recreation ground, you know, you pass there and there's always a buzz of activities. So thanks again to the PNM administration.
Of course, and that.
So, and you're seeing those recreation grounds in the communities, they are now bearing fruit. And we are seeing our athletes excelling. In any day you pass at that Calder Hall field, there are a number of activities, be it running, be it football, girls, boys, you name it, something is happening there.
And then, you know, we must big up our boy Brian.
Listen.
It's cricket, it's football.
We
really want to encourage the coaches in particular who are out there doing yeoman, sometimes thankless service as well. Because the little stipend they could never compensate for the kind of sacrifice and time and effort and input that these persons put in. Donnie Marcel is another one doing excellent work. We know Kemba Duncan and this, I can't remember her name right now, also with netball. The name isn't coming to my head right now, but she does a lot of good work as well.
Wilson?
I think it could be,
Yeah, I think I know you.
Yeah. But yeah, so many persons and too many to call, but really want to commend you all to continue. You know, sometimes the resources doesn't always come as you would like, but do not let that daunt you. Do not let that, you know, this demotivate you from making that contribution. Because in the end, when you see the fruits of your labor, when you see persons earning medals and persons earning scholarship, I'm sure that kind of satisfaction, or Falcons, the Franklin brothers, who've been, Kyla Keith, that's the name. Yeah, so, you know, when you see all these people out there making the sacrifice, and then we're seeing the fruits of those sacrifices, is really...
You feel good. You feel proud.
And I mean, Minority Councillor made a very critical statement there when you said you are now seeing the fruits of the administration's investments. And you know, over the last, and I have to go back to this before we go forward, over the last 21 years, we've been hearing people trying to convince Tobago that PNM has done nothing for the past 21 years. And I mean, it is not, there's nothing further from the truth. And what we see today is really the investment of good PNM policy in education, in sport, in communities, and we are seeing it manifesting. And you know, the PNM represents a great organization. And you know, just today I did a little read up before we get into the meat of the Great Deception. I did a little read up, and something struck out to me, that the PNM has never changed its colors. It's never changed its name. The symbol has never changed. And the good thing about this symbol, the balize, is that even if you burn the balize down to its root, where you think it's totally annihilated, it springs right back up. And Dr. Williams did a lot of research into choosing that particular symbol.
But you know, one of the things that is that some people are now trying to represent or misrepresent how parties were formed in the past. Because when you understand the history of the PNM, it was a rallying call of all and sundry that encompassed the very fabric of both, and Trinidad and Tobago, the length and breadth. The PNM wasn't just a party that somebody decided to just, we're going to be a party today. It started, of course, when you look at the Woodford Square movement, where it started as a sort of
people
education.
Coming together,
and so when I'm hearing someone purporting again that this new approach, this approach is something so new and bottom up, saying, but the PNM, you can't get more bottom up than the PNM.
They are not.
I'm wondering what history class you went
to. And I mean, the final thing that stands out to me with this whole thing, when I read what was noted, it says Dr. Williams practiced what was called pragmatic socialism. And that stressed on social services, improved education, economic development, and cautious attraction of foreign investment. And the PNM's policy has been consistent for almost 68 years now. And this is what PNM has brought to Trinidad and Tobago. So when we see now this failed attempt, and Minority Leader, let me use your terms, what they say is never what they do. So they call less than 200 people together in a small function room at Magdalena, who are excited that this new party is being formed. And just what the people came with is what they left with. Absolutely nothing.
Wasn't it
Shore Park. Shore Park. Just what they came with is what they left with. Nothing.
Deception again.
Too, because if you looked at the flyer says, join us as we launch our party. To hear that is not really a launch, but it's not the launch of a party, but the launch of a process.
Exactly. Well, I think, but I know you have
today I am saying, without a doubt, as far as the information I have, and it's clear, this party, the most suitable name for this party is the Fale Saltfish Party.
Exactly.
FSP.
FSP. And we are putting it out there this evening.
They
Because
can't
From
finalize
today
on it.
henceforth, this party will be known as, to all and sundry, the Fale Saltfish Party.
FSF.
Drops mic, walks off
Walks
stage.
off.
Because the longer you leave saltfish out, is the more funny it smells in it. The more fishy. It starts to attract flies. And this is exactly, the longer this administration governs, is the more fishy the practices look.
Yep. And when you consider, because from very early, when you look even at I-95, he was labeled as the Tobago saltfish, and he enjoyed that because in that period, it was something that he was so popular. But now we are seeing he's a Tobago saltfish because everything he touches, destroying
it fishy.
It's fishy.
Yeah. So I on that platform and that foundation, we're gonna launch into this evening's program, and seeing that we're already in the vein of this deception that we saw taking place, the Chief Secretary made some statements. He made some statements, I think probably on the day of the launch as well, that I see infuriated many Tobagonians, and they took to Facebook to vent, where he was saying that he needs more time to turn Tobago around. But specifically, some of the things that he stated that came out in the article spoke to Tobago's tourism sector. And I know, Minority Leader, you want to highlight certain things about those statements. Again, what is said is never really the truth.
Well, what stood out to me, one, it is clear that Fale, recognizing that he does not have the competence, he does not have the ability, he does not have the strategy, he does not have the experience to treat with Tobago's governance issue, is now going to default, which is simply to blame the PNM and utilize this blanket statement, which is totally unfounded, that he inherited such mess. So for 21 years, yet Tobago prospered for the last 21 years.
Yes.
So I want to know what mess if Tobago was so bad for the 21 years, how come Tobago was able to move from a period where you had little employment, I think the employment rate was something like 13%, and the PNM was able to bring it down to 5%. You had a situation where you had only about 2 secondary schools, the PNM were able to move it to over 5 to 6 secondary schools. You had a situation where you had only about 3 or 4 functional health centers. PNM was able to put health centers in every community. You had a situation where you had, in terms of proper playing fields, only about 3, Shaw Park and Roxborough. PNM was able to put recreational facilities and
lighted playing fields.
Lit playing fields. So, and then
you also have, in terms of early childhood, there was none.
PNM was able to put, so when you listen to, so I'm asking myself what mess, and then what was most disturbing to me is the misrepresentation of the truth.
Yes.
Do me any other thing, but you see, when you're trying to misrepresent truth with numbers, I think that speaks to a certain kind of character. Because when somebody could make a bold blanket statement that under the PNM post, even before COVID, tourism had declined by 11.2%. And I am asking the Chief Secretary tonight, where did you get that information? Because I would like the producer to pull up the information that shows the 2017 arrivals, 2018 arrivals, and 2019 international arrivals. And what you would recognize that after we had separated TDC and Tobago had its own specific entity to treat with Tobago's tourism, separate and apart from Trinidad, they were a renewed strategic direction. and you could have seen the benefits of that renewed focus in marketing Tobago and its product development.
Let's leave it up, Director.
And what you would, so I want the Chief Secretary to explain to me how he could claim that tourism declined prior to 2020 when COVID came, when you are seeing the total arrivals for 2017, 27,589. In 2018, it increased slightly to 27,683. And in 2019, there was a marked increase over almost 2,000 visitors to 29,000. And when you're talking about persons who actually stayed over long stay, you saw an increase from 2017, it was 18,024. 2018, 18,058. And in 2019, you had a whole 1,500 increase in long stay. That is heads in bed, persons staying in accommodation in Tobago, spending their money. And the average, even the average monthly stay increased from 1,505 to 1,629, which is something like about a 7% overall increase year on year. So I want to know, where did the Chief Secretary get his information to indicate, because and these are information coming directly from the Airports Authority. So where did he get his information to boldly indicate that prior to COVID-19, the tourism numbers were on the decline by 11%? And yet again, this is the Chief Secretary telling blatant untruth.
Deception.
Where did he get that? Where did he get that figure?
And I'll ask the director to pull up the article as it's highlighted so persons can see where it was said.
And what we need to get to now, again, we asking the question, what is the current policy? So you would have seen a stark increase in terms of the numbers between 2017 and 2019. Because at the time, the then Tobago Tourism Agency Limited had a 3-year rolling plan.
Exactly.
So there was a strategic objective that we wanted to achieve. And year on year, those objectives were, in some instances, they were not fully. So then we tweaked, we looked at it, we changed, but we worked with a plan in mind.
And there was a clear strategy, because one of the things, as I continue to say, we recognize that the deficiency was access and accommodation. And whereas we would have had specific targets and we didn't totally meet those targets year on year, because you also had some variables that didn't play out. Of course, we were looking to see how we can improve our room stock. So the sandals was a big part of our strategic direction. Of course, and while you had sandals, you also had Apple Leisure Group in the background treating with their interest in Magdalena. So if we had those two players come on board at the same time, you would have seen a straight up in exponential increase in the arrivals.
And you were also trying to attract airlines.
And then at the same time, we were trying to attract airlines. We were able to just get one single airline come into the space, and you saw what that did for the 2019 figures. And in fact, that airline was also talked, because they were only doing at the time winter package travel, right, chartered travel. And they were looking at doing a year-round chartered arrangement with Tobago. Of course, then COVID came, and that would have shut down everything. But and I want the producer to put up back that statement, because it is very disingenuous. It is very dishonest for him to claim that before the COVID-19 pandemic, tourism in Tobago was declining by at least. So he just pick up, and I want to know where he get this number.
With a point.
And he put a point in it. So that means he has some kind of, I want him to share with us, where did he get that statistic?
Let us say that someone misinformed the Chief Secretary. And he is
but he went on to say,
you
are talking about us having to bring our main industry and economy back from COVID-19, and where it was in decline before COVID. It is so there again, trying to make excuse when a lot of work was put in,
of course,
to bring it, and there was a lot of specific strategic policy direction
Direction.
and the implementation that was done. Some of the things was not by accident. So when you see them going and just clandestinely cutting virgin without having a replacement.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even speaking
No
to the fact that,
plan.
remember, in the House there was a question asked, and the secretary, in her response, I think it was claiming that we sat on the board,
Yes.
and during COVID time we decided to still engage the
Yeah.
airline. But that's not how it works.
If we had discontinued, we would have been in a real. So you had to continue to engage. You had to continue.
Yes, because at the end of the day, you want to keep your destination alive. You want to keep, because we also did not know when
the borders
would have reopened.
And of course, there were some specific things done even then to make sure that the destination was COVID ready. And in fact, we were recognized during that period of COVID as having one of the best templates, and a lot of other countries was looking at all the different steps. And of course, we would have done the upgrades where we gave support to hotels so they too can help to upgrade their accommodation so that when tourists return, they're in a better position than when they last came. So this statement, in a real sense, is one that is very, very disturbing, because I don't know who would have misled him, but I would love to find out where he got that information to premise his hypothesis that they're so in a bad spot because of what they inherited, when in fact there's clear evidence that the tourism sector in Tobago was on a clear rebound. You started to see the fruits of what would have been done from 2017, specifically having the Tobago Tourism Agency, the rebranding. Remember, we rebranded also to Tobago Beyond, and the marketing campaign that came from that. That was also awarded, that received the Silver Award for one of the best marketing campaigns in the world. So to come and try to paint a sort of dim picture on the kind of positive work that was done is an injustice. And even as far as I understand, the incoming chairman heaped praise on the previous board. So for this chief secretary, I don't know. These people, they're really distorted. They're really alternative. They're really all over the place.
But even when you talk about mess, so one of the things in the article the chief secretary indicated is that he inherited 21 years of mess, but he has said that there's mess, but he seemed to be continuing some of the policies that already existed. Because I am not sure what are some of the new policies that are now in place that this new administration has implemented.
But you remember when I asked the Secretary of Tourism specifically, what is your policy direction? What is your strategy? Because she had made a bold statement, and let us hold them to the statement that she would be getting 100, and it's because the chief secretary recognized that they could barely get 10, right? So because he have recognized that they are failing, he's now looking, his excuse, his default, the saltfish man excuse, every time he fails, is to blame the PNM.
Yeah, but what is their policy? What is your policy?
As far as I understand, she has 2 technical persons there. And she promised that when she onboarded she would then reveal the strategic plan. Where is the strategic plan?
Silent night. But again, Minority Leader, the Chief Secretary, we have precedence in terms of how he operates. He creates a situation to use it as an opportunity to kill or to destroy an industry. We saw it with the contractors. He fabricated this audit, and I don't want the public to think that our concern about the audit has gone quiet. But we are still awaiting the audit. He fabricated all this information against contractors, used it as a means of now doing what they wanted to do. And later in the program tonight, we're going to get into some real money matters and facts, where Tobago will understand how devious these people are and the tricks.
But even in the article, I think the article quoted the chief secretary as saying as they have begun to pay some of the contractors. And
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And in the same breath, so he's saying that there will be legal matters, but in the same
Yes.
breath, you're paying the
you're paying the
contractors
contractor because
you've
that was a
received the
recommendation.
final
Yes.
of the audit.
Yeah.
And the chief secretary would have also promised us that was in September that he
Yes.
will release this damning
audit.
audit, and that was the reason for non-payment. So you secretly now have the audit, which has advised you to pay. You haven't now come back to the public to say that you have advised and how much you have advised.
I don't know if this boy doesn't listen to himself sometimes, because you created this picture. You said this thing had to go to DPP,
Yes.
to
Call the police.
all the police,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
law enforcement.
Everybody.
But here you are, you're silently, quietly now telling us, well, we received the final audit and it said pay the contractors. So if the audit telling you pay the contractors, what that suggests to you?
Yeah.
Because remember, he painted this picture
charges
of,
that you can't pay them. So you promise
corruption.
payment. You promise payment to the contractors. You also promise that the banks that they will receive the payment, so that
and you gave
whatever
a deadline.
precisely.
June the 24th. I'll never forget
Yes,
that.
June the 24th. So that was the reason
When June
for not
24th
paying.
came, then you start to come on audit, that you have this audit, you have this audit.
And you have to do due diligence.
And on top of that, you came to the house, basically took precious time to present an incomplete audit. And you don't even have the courtesy to come back to the house because you say you get the audit. Where's the audit?
That he never distributed.
You said
he never
even
circulated
in that presentation, you said you were going to get the final audit within a couple of weeks, and you would present all the audit. You would lay them in the house.
September.
Where's the audit? What did the audit say?
It's on the same desk with the expenditure.
But at the same time, what you have told us, you haven't told us how much you pay them, but you tell us you're paying them.
But if it was so public when he was charging them, why he not coming public?
And if it was so bad as he made it out to be,
then there should be no further payment.
But how come you're paying them?
Yeah.
What this boy says and what this boy does,
deception.
What the saltfish does, and what the saltfish says, is always a miles apart. So where you smell and what you see is two different things.
The Farley's Saltfish Party. Folks, we are now getting into the real meat of this evening's program. And I know many of you were seeing the comments and so on. We're going to take a short break. And when we get back, we're going to start to look at money matters, because money matters. So share the live. Let's get as many people logged on so that we can share this information for you this evening. We'll be right back.
Good morning. Put a smile on your This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show. October will never be better. With Tobago, carnival fever. Okay, passage and come on over.
And folks, we are back on the Minority Report. We had some bills to pay as the program it has now become, I think, the most popular and the most viewed program on the Tobago Update. So many business people are now using the opportunity to advertise during our segment.
Tobago Carnival and all.
Tobago Carnival and all. Yeah, so we thank you for the support, and we trust that you would keep up the good work and keep viewing the program. So when we left on a note of trying to assess the statements of the Farley Saltfish Party. And now that we are back, we have been looking at and we've been listening to a lot that has been said in the public domain. One of the things that this administration, Farley and his Saltfish Party, started to indicate from early on is that Tobago had no money, that the PNM had spent all the money, and in the words of his past economics teacher, a lot of flowery words, just packing words into sentences to try to bamboozle the head of Tobagonians and to fool persons. So this evening, after much ado, we're going to have our specialist financial person in the person of Minority Councillor Petal Daniel Benoit. We're going to look at a breakdown of some of the allocations that would have been received, and we're going to get at least a handle and an understanding on the entire process.
And as we get in, I just want to, again, you see, we have so many resourceful persons in and around, and I really want to thank the persons who would have worked on pulling this information in a way that is digestible, you know,
easy to
easy to follow. And so you see, this minority continues to do work on your behalf that you can be able to understand some of, because if you just pull the figures and you watch it, it could be a turn off. So really want to thank the persons who would have worked and give support to ensure that we can have this information presented in the form it's presented tonight.
Yes, indeed. So, Minority Councillor, tell us and tell Tobago what is, people always hear allocations from central government and so on coming to Tobago and so on. So give us a bit of understanding as to what that process entails, and then we're going to take a look so that we can see what this administration received when they came into office, and from then to now, what they would have gotten. And I mean, we don't have a breakdown of what they spent it on, but we know what they got, and we can match that against what they said when they came in. So
first, the process starts, of course, according to the THA Act 40 of 1996. By June 30th, we had to submit estimates, approved estimates, to the Minister of Finance. So the process starts there. I would take it back a little. So before we get to the estimates, a call circular will be issued, and a call circular is what we deem as instructions. So the Division of Finance will issue instructions to all the other divisions in the Assembly, indicating to them that they are to produce estimates and they are to produce it in line with whatever strategic plan, the comprehensive development plan, the Vision 2030, whatever strategies that they have. And they will give a deadline. They would also issue different formats and that kind of thing for both recurrent and development. So once that is completed, the estimates are compiled, it goes to the House, and that is where we have the debates in and around the June 30th. It's approved and then it's submitted to the Minister of Finance. After that has been submitted, we have the national budget. The national budget happens in and around September, early October. And based on the national budget, the Minister of Finance will make a recommendation to what Tobago should receive. Based on the Dispute Resolution Commission, the Tobago House of Assembly should receive between 4.03% and 6.9%, I think, of the national budget. Generally, we receive close to 4.3% of the national budget. So once the recommendation is approved by Parliament, Our parliamentary allocation is what is stated in the estimate, the book of the estimates. Yes? So over the period, we will see that our allocation fluctuating between 4.03, 4.3, 4.5% thereabout. And of course, it's disaggregated. The total allocation is disaggregated between recurrent, and this is what we use to the day-to-day. So like we pay salaries and wages or rent, that kind of thing, and our development expenditure, development program expenditure. So that basically makes up our allocation. So we will make a request, just as how, you know, you have your children and your children would want things, and just as how you have a family budget, everybody in the home will have needs. But of course, your resources are finite, particularly your financial resources. So as the head of the home, you will look at the total picture and decide, I can give a share, I can give X, I can give Y. Very rarely you will receive all that you would have requested. And similarly with the national budget, you make a request, but at the central government level, they will look at all the priorities and make a recommendation as to what Tobago will receive, along with all the other ministries and agencies.
Okay. And after that is received, when Tobago knows exactly now the allocation that it gets, whether it's 2
Yes,
billion.
and Parliament approves it, so it goes through all the committee stages, the upper house, the lower house, and it's approved.
So then the THA would then
request.
And they would then do a reprioritization
Yes,
as well.
yes, yes. So the THA, and that is within the ambit of the THA, to determine what its priorities are and reprioritize based on what the priorities are. So in a number of cases, and I think all the time, because the development program allocation is significantly less than what we would like, what administration, successive administration, including this one, attempts to do is to restrict the recurrent, because our recurrent allocation is significantly higher than development. So our current allocation will normally be in the billions of dollars, 1.9, 2.1, whereas the development program allocation will be like 264, 300 million in this instance. So it will reduce our expenditure on the recurrent side to supplement expenditure on the development program. And yes, the Executive Council has the prerogative to do that. So they will do that, and they normally come back to the House in October to share with the House and to debate what they have reprioritized.
Okay. I also want you to share with the viewers that question you had asked the Chief Secretary regarding, because I know one of the things he had always criticized the previous administration and is that as much as you're reprioritizing, where are the various line items?
Yes,
and I know.
Yes.
So
if you look at the estimate books, you will see that in the estimate for all the divisions have various line items. So you will see expenditure for personal expenditure, you will see goods and services and contract labor. You will see all the various line items, and that is presented in the budget or the estimates in June. So the Chief Secretary in his past incarnation would always say that when we know our allocation and we come back for the reprioritization, the same process that you went through in June should be done when you come to reprioritize. And the Chief Secretary indicated in this reprioritization in November that because he requested it in the past, he has done it. So while we were going through the debate, it was my turn to debate, and I'm like, Madam Presiding Officer, we are sitting here. The Chief Secretary has indicated that he has reprioritized and issued line items for every new prioritization, but we don't have any information before us. We don't have the new estimate books to show the new figures so that we can compare. And even after that, we did not receive it, and a question was filed. Can the Secretary outline what are the new allocations per division? And even in the follow-up to that question, I asked if
Promise you would get it.
the estimates, the new estimates are available.
He said he was sent
yes,
to my email up
Yes.
to now. Well, I still...
and we are
And this was
since,
after the sit-in.
And
yeah.
so
Run you
yes,
down to
yes.
tell you that.
So yet again, this is just another example of what this chief
So we are
secretary
still to receive.
says and what he actually does, being, because here it is, you're criticizing and you're free to criticize.
Yeah.
But you also gave a commitment that you would do differently. But now that you're in the seat, and even when you are asked about it, you pretend like you have done it. But up to now, there's no
we haven't
evidence.
received. We haven't
There's
received
no
the new
evidence to
estimates
show
of new
that you have
prioritization.
actually
Yeah.
done the
Report.
Yeah.
So yet again,
Always
and
deception.
another important thing to note as well in terms of this, for the past like 6 years or so, since the new PNM administration came in and with the challenges with cash flow, the former administrations, they were receiving their allocation month to month. I want people to understand this because it's very important, because when you look at some of the comments on social media, there's an impression as though the central government is not giving the releases to this administration. They're not getting the money. But if you listen carefully, at no point have you heard the chief secretary complain about not receiving the allocation. In fact, he even boasted that he was able to achieve what the previous finance secretary couldn't
have achieved.
which was to get the allocation in accordance to the law. Because the law spells out how the releases should be, which is quarterly. And it started, I think, was 2 months, and as of now, as far as I understand, they are getting their releases quarterly. So they cannot say that the PNM administration is starving them for resources. What they were allocated, they are getting, and they are getting on a quarterly basis. So they have even a better starting point than the previous administration, because what it means, you're getting your money in lump sum. So you can better plan, you can better prepare. And that is why I'm so concerned that even in getting your money in a lump sum, you're hearing URP can't be paid, CPEP can't be paid. In my very own office, my staff can't be paid. And you're wondering what is happening? Why is this happening? And I'm sure Minority Council would now be able to take us through some of the...
What I want us to take our minds back to as well, remember when this administration came into office, one of the first things and the first press conference, the first interaction that the chief secretary had with the Tobago public was to indicate that we are in dire financial strains. And the past administration spent all the money electioneering, and there is no funds for them. So it was basically a doom and gloom. That there is no money to do what needs to be done. And in response to that, what the past secretary, and we had a press conference to try to advise people that, one, as the minority leader indicated, the past administration was getting the releases month on month. So you would receive money from the Ministry of Finance, and it will be used for expenditure on that particular month. We were in December at the time. We know that in December, we tried to pay wages early. Yes? So it meant, therefore, that most of that funds would have been utilized with the expenditure in December. We also went on to say that because it was only 3 months out of the fiscal year, you will receive the allocation or the balance on the allocation for the next 9 months. That would have been January to September. We indicated that. And that allocation would have been somewhere between, I think, $1.7 billion, I think it was, would have been the balance on the allocation. And the chief secretary came and he said that the former Secretary of Finance was not being truthful in his utterances. The chief secretary also spoke to the fact that there was no unspent balance left, that he only got some $50 million or 3,000 or something like that in the bank account, some insignificant
Yeah.
amount. And then when he indicated, when the former Secretary of Finance responded, he said on paper, we have something like about 75 million. And he come back and said that he not dealing with that on paper. He dealing with the technocrats and so forth and so forth and so forth. And we have seen come to pass, based on the reports that were presented in the House, that all that was said then is what has happened. So there was a balance and allocation, and you will see, because the final statement that we would have received in the House for fiscal 2022 was August. We have not yet received the September, but we have received August. And based on the August statement, it says here that this administration for recurrent expenditure would have received from the Ministry of Finance $1.787 billion. That's recurrent. And for development program, they would have received $242 million. $242.123. So almost all the allocation. And if you looked at the budget statement, the national budget statement, the Minister of Finance indicated at the time, this was early September, that they would have received close to 100%. He said that they received 96.9%, and they're expected to receive all the allocation.
So and the just to emphasize, what that means is that this administration within 1 and perhaps 4 months would have already spent over 2.8, close to $3 billion. And I want to ask the Begonians, because you're hearing it from Dr. Vanas James, you're hearing it from no person less than former Chamber President Diane Haddad. You're hearing it from the contractors, you're hearing it from the hardware owners, you're hearing it from the business people, from the tourist operators. You're seeing the foreclosures, you're seeing where we have moved from our delinquency rate of about 1% to 31% now. So you've spent $3 billion in that period. And Tobago is in the state it is. Where are you feeling that $3 billion? They used to like to ask the PNM, what have you spent what have they done to really to bring this economy into a state of buoyancy? What are they doing with employment? As far as I understand, you walk the length and breadth of Tobago and young people are still clamoring for jobs. What are they doing when it comes to education? You see, as far as I understand, persons who usually get the financial assistance from DATAS, they are struggling to meet, those financial obligations are not being met in the way they used to be. As far as I understand, persons who used to get the food card, going for the $500 food card, they're not able to get the financial assistance with the food card. They're being blocked.
And what I want us to quickly as well look at, because if we look at and you could say that they have not been, what they requested is not what they got. Similar with all the other administrations.
Yeah, but he used to tell them lower the gaze.
But I want us to consider, because if you look at, and I just look at 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and well, of course, 2023. And in 2019, we have those figures. 2.2 billion was allocated. 2.2 billion was allocated.
The financial
in 2020, 2.29 billion. In 2021, it was reduced to 2.142. In 2023, it was 2.33. And this year in 2023, fiscal 2023, is the largest allocation over the past 3 years that I just would have mentioned, and it is 2.493 billion.
So, and that is just to emphasize that even with a PNM administration and they being a non-PNM administration, they're in fact getting their just due. In fact, even better than what the previous
Correct.
administrations had to work with. So they cannot in no way say that they are being marginalized or victimized in any way.
And even when you look at what the PNM administration would have gotten in the past, you didn't feel this sense of the economy, nothing is happening. You didn't feel this sense of stagnation. You didn't feel the sense that everybody is crying out, contractors, employees, bankers. You didn't get that sense of
correct.
Nothing
Chaos.
is happening, yeah.
And that's why, because it's only dawned on me the other day, I was like, but it's about 3 billion. When you hear people crying out and understand that, but it's $3 billion that they have spent.
And that's the thing, persons have not understood this because the fretting has died down. And what a lot of individuals didn't realize, we heard all the cries at the beginning in the first 2 to 3 months. And I remember even you, minority leader, was on a morning program, and you had indicated to them what was still in unspent balances. And now that the cry has died down, people have stopped really listening for that. But it's very important for Tobago to understand that this administration has gotten quite a lot of money that we're not seeing the impact in the island.
And when they're saying that they didn't get it, because again, I want to go back to this whole issue of unspent balance. And you get unspent balance from various means. So the unspent balance, or what you will use as unspent balance in your current fiscal, is what was unused in your last fiscal. So like for 2021, I would say 2021, in terms of monies that we receive from the Ministry of Finance that we did not issue to divisions, we take out the bank charges and that kind of stuff, and we transfer that unreleased funds to the contingency fund. We also look at the time, we looked at releases that went to the divisions that they did not yet utilize. Again, you look at their allocation, you look at their releases, you look at their bank charges, you also look at their expenditure, as well as whatever unpresented checks. And what remains unutilized from the divisions, in collaboration with them, you pull that back, and that is transferred into the contingency fund. Again, when we were demitting office, that process was not yet completed. And because we had started the process, because we understand what goes into it, the then Secretary of Finance could have claimed that, or quoted, that there should be between $75 to $80 million in unspent balances. And this is the report, again, from August 2022. And item 9 says, unspent balances, unspent balances account 9.1. The Secretary of Finance and the Economy, in accordance with Section 48 of the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996, released, and when we say released, it means that it issued to divisions 75, this is 75,478,470. I think this is 75 million from the unspent balances account as at the 31st of August 2022.
So
And
up
just,
to August, this was monies that wasn't utilized yet.
No, up to August, this was, yes, wasn't utilized. So they would have released it to divisions. So over the period of January to August, they would have issued to the divisions to the tune of $75 million.
And just for clarity, because there was, and again, in terms of the deception, you would hear the talk, and a lot of Tobagonians would have said it. This unspent balance is money that we were sending back to Trinidad.
Yes.
So when you don't use, so is that a real thing that this money goes back to Trinidad?
No, the money doesn't go back to Trinidad, because again, we understand that particularly for CPEP and URP, and the Chief Secretary would have said it, that basically you utilize the unspent balances to supplement certain types of funding, particularly
Where you have the
CPEP, the shortfall, CPEP and
Yeah.
URP. The allocation for CPEP and URP is 18 million and 9 million one way. And the expenditure far exceeds that. So it therefore means that you have to supplement, you have to find the money from somewhere. So you have to plan the year before to see how you can restrict so you can supplement, because you are required to supplement based on the trend.
Yeah, use an important word there, plan.
Plan.
And I think that is part of the problem that we are seeing now, a lack of planning.
Yeah. So it therefore meant, and I want to stress on the point that the past administration had to leave unspent balance for you to have it to release.
Exactly.
And it would have been from the previous fiscal year, because that's how you get the unspent balance.
Therein lies the fact that the former Secretary of Finance, Mr. Jack, was correct, because look, it says 75 million.
And this is August.
Yeah, in August.
We haven't seen the September, so we're not sure how much was released in September. Yes.
And we have some of the charts up. As the charts run, and I'm getting an indication that the director wants to open the lines very quickly before we close off. Minority Councillor, these are the charts. Let's pause on this one a bit. Tell us how we're looking here.
So this is actually what I would have indicated before in terms of the THA allocation. So we're looking at the allocations year on year. So from 2019, 2.24 billion, 2020, 2.29, 2021, 2.14, and it increased in 2022 to 2.34, and in 2023, the largest, 2. So this administration, over the 4-year period, would have had the largest allocation.
So they've already benefited from 2 of the largest allocations, because they came in very early in 2022, and now they have all of 2023. So, and that's why I was saying already they have spent over about $2 billion in 2022, and now we're in 2023, and they've spent, because we are now going into about the 3rd quarter. We're in the 3rd quarter now. So they would have already used up over $1 billion. So they've spent at least $3 billion within their tenure already.
Almost a year and a half.
Almost a year and a half. And the question
is,
where's the real meaningful development? That is the question. If you drive around Tobago, what have they built? What have they delivered? The tangible delivery that you can say, yes, I can see something that, because most of the things is what the PNM, and they simply finish it and they just go and cut the ribbon.
The rubber stamp.
But it was signed, sealed, and built by the PNM. They have not had any one project with that signature on there.
From start.
Outside of the stage and the sea. Where cars where tunnel lovers lay now. Because all people doing is going on there and park up and watch him.
We even saw the blatant lies even about the capital of paradise. Even when they spoke about that. So there's nothing that they have started that we can
tangible,
see. So Minority Councillor, I want to give you an opportunity to just wrap this up. And then we have to close off. We already a bit over time. There's so much.
I'll come back
again.
We definitely will have to continue.
To really
there's
go
a lot,
through the numbers.
And Tobago, as the topic says, it's the great deception. And the minority leader continues to say it. What is said and what is the reality are at adverse. And it's sad that we can't totally depend on what is said, because tonight I think we brought proof and facts as to information that was said, and based on the numbers, based on the data, based on the statistics, what was said is not what really exists. From the whole issue of the tourism, from everything coming down to in terms of the numbers. We came into the office under the disguise that everything was bad, doom and gloom, financial crisis, you can't function. And now, what, a year and 3 months
$3 billion
later,
later.
we are seeing where what was said was not totally accurate.
And they just to build on Minority Council's point, the current administration of independence, now they file the Saltfish Party, they came in under the guise of PDP saying they can fix it. And now that we recognize all of Tobago, even persons who supported them, campaigned for them, like Dr. Vanas James and even Miss Haddad, was one of Fali's biggest supporters in the earlys. And now saying clearly they are incompetent, they don't know what they're doing. I see even Mr. James recently in some saying he just happened. In fact, so what he's saying, he really doesn't have a plan. He's clueless, he's all over the place, he's unfocused. There's no strategic plan, no strategic direction, no policy initiatives. We asked in the budget presentation, Petal asked him, what is the framework upon which your budget is built? Because what we got was a whole pie in the sky. And I am anticipating this next, because there were so many things put out there, like, you know, when you get a wish list and you're playing Muddy Pot long time as a little child, and you just you believe that you're in this fairy la la land, that you could just say, I want this and I want that, and this is how we... But there was no serious framework to say this is the foundation upon which our economic diversification or economic objectives would be built. And these are the key outcomes. These are the indicators. Nothing strategic. No clear goals. Nothing. Pie in the sky, airy fairy, and we are here today. And we are here today and recognizing that they have failed and continue to fail. His excuse, because it's not an excuse, is to say I'm failing because he inherited the mess from the PNM. But you said you could fix it. So even if you had inherited the mess, even if, which an argument I am not buying at all, because I was able to show you the many areas of development and achievements of the former administration.
And the thing is, we are not claiming that the PNM is perfect.
We're not saying So I'm saying even if, we're not saying they were perfect. In fact, the fact that we are here means that over time, people would have gotten issues and disenchanted. So it means that something went awry, and we have to admit it. We have to face the facts. But at the same time, if you're saying that you have the capacity to treat with those issues that persons have, you can't now come and tell the people, well, really and truly, I can't treat with the issues.
Show us your capacity.
You're supposed to show them that I have what it takes, because if you don't have what it takes, then why are we keeping you in this position? You need to be shown the door. And let others who perhaps have retooled, looked at their shortcomings, come back and deal with what they have to deal with. But at the end of the day, it cannot be that your excuse is simply, I have failed and I cannot deliver because the PNM gave me this situation that is a mess. and that is one of the real crux of the matter in terms of watching at the Great Deception, because here you are in every facet. When you look at what has transpired in terms of governance, these people came to Tobagonians as a PDP. The Chief Secretary current is on record as saying we would not be like the other parties. We will not just win an election or lose an election and then just mash up. He gave that commitment.
He would not change color.
They would not change color.
He will not come to you in a different...
Less than a year, all of a sudden he knew how bad his political leader was. He wasn't bad before to get into power. But all of a sudden, he's so bad that you can't live in the same house with him. So you change vehicle, then you declare yourself independent. And in declaring yourself independent, you also said that this is the best model for Tobago. You also said that the very Tobago House Assembly Act and the framers would have envisioned this arrangement. And when you recognize that you want to do a reshuffle and you can't change people because everybody have a gun to your head saying, if you change me, then we go on, we booting you out. Because if we have the ability as independents, 8 of us could come together and say, we no longer want you as chief secretary. So when you recognize that, you say, you see me, let me go and form my party. So you decide now you're going to launch a party.
Yeah.
But when you recognize the challenges with forming your own party, a party now to be in government that
Overnight.
nobody voted for,
Correct.
nobody gave a mandate, you start to say, well, it's not my party, you know.
It's the people.
It's the people party. And all of a sudden, you don't want no party register in your name, and it's not my executive, and you start to distance yourself. This is the hypocrisy, it is deception, it is manipulation, and it is dishonesty as well. Because you're not coming to the people real. You are fake, you are saltfish party.
Great deception. The great deception.
The great deception.
Folks, we are not out of words, we are not out of content, we are not out of facts, data and research, but we are out of time. And echoing the words of the minority leader and minority councillor, with all that you've heard tonight, we are calling on you to reject
the saltfish party.
The saltfish party, to reject their deception, because I'm certain now at the end of this program and many other programs like it, many of you have now been informed and have seen the light on many issues. And tonight we've seen the light on the issues of tourism. We've seen the light on the issues of the allocations received by this administration. And we are calling on you to reject what is now known as the Farley Saltfish Party, because all that they bring to the table can be coined in 3 words: the great deception. I'm Marlon David, your host for this program, saying good night to you. And I would like to say that we will continue next week, Tuesday, as we continue to bring the facts, continue to bring the information, and continue to bring freedom to the minds of the people of Tobago. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless.